So, you know the story. Moses is born as a Hebrew baby boy. His life is endangered. For safety, he's hidden in a water-resistant basket and left floating in the bulrushes along the river's edge, while his sister, from a distance, hides and keeps watch. The Pharaoh's daughter comes along with her entourage to bathe, finds the baby Moses in a basket, adopts him, and he is raised up in a palace with his mother as his nurse. Years pass in royal treatment. Moses sees one of his kinspeople being beaten by an Egyptian and beats the Egyptian to death, hiding the body. The next day, Moses learns he's been found out and the Pharaoh wants to kill him, so Moses flees from Pharaoh's court into the wilderness in fear of his life. Many things happen in our wilderness wanderings, things that change us, often setting our lives on a different course, taking us to new places. Moses marries, has children, goes about his job. There's a burning bush, an encounter with the holy, a call from God, a job to do, sacred or not, or scared or not, ready or not, prepared or not, feeling inadequate or not. There are a lot of plagues and a lot of miracles, and 40 years, a long time, of leading a band of nomads through all of their wilderness wanderings on their journey from slavery in Egypt into the land God has promised to give them. Many things happen in our wilderness wanderings, things that change us, often setting our lives on a different course, taking us to new places. Now, at the edge of the wilderness, there's a new call to a new leader of a new generation. Times have changed. Circumstances have changed. The context has changed. People have changed. Society has changed. A lot of things have changed in 40 years. Moses has changed, and now is about to pass the torch to this new leader, to Joshua, who also is called in the wilderness to take the people into a new day, stepping from life as it has been into the new challenges before this people of God. Moses summons Joshua, charging him with his new responsibilities, giving his blessing to this new leader. Be strong and courageous. You must lead the people, and God will lead you, never failing you or deserting you. Do not fear, and never be disheartened. Joshua is filled with the spirit of wisdom because Moses, this great leader called by God, lays his hands upon this new leader, giving him his blessing. And the people pledge themselves to follow Joshua, the one called by God, to take them into the next leg of their journey. The thing is, though, Joshua, following the leading of the Spirit, is about to take them into battle with this strategic plan. March once around the city walls carrying the Ark of the Covenant for 6 days, blowing shofars. On the 7th day, march around 7 times, blowing shofars, then shout really loudly when I tell you to. Now, I don't know how this sounded to the people, but I think I would have been a little skeptical, maybe a lot skeptical. I might have had some second thoughts about this new leader. He sure was different from Moses, and we had never done it this way before. But the people promised to follow Joshua's leadership, going wherever Joshua leads them, just as they had followed Moses. So they blessed their new leader. May God be with you as God was with Moses. Only be strong, be courageous. As for Joshua, new on the job, the focus is on the task before him. He has been told clearly what to do. Be strong, be very courageous. Do not deviate at all from what is true and just and right. Do not deviate at all from God's call upon your life. Only then can you act with wisdom. Only then will the journey be successful. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for God is with you wherever you go. Many things happen in our wilderness wanderings, things that change us, often setting our life on a different course. But then one day, we're at the edge of the wilderness where God has brought us, about to take us to a new place, and we have to make a choice. Either turn around, heading back into the wilderness to continue our wilderness wanderings, or move forward on the path where the Holy is leading us into newness of life for a new day. Here stands Joshua with the people at the edge of the wilderness, a choice needing to be made. As I've been looking at the history of Fort Street and where we seem to be right now, I can't help but wondering if this congregation has been wandering in the wilderness for a while now, maybe quite a long while. And I keep thinking, maybe we're standing at the edge of the wilderness with a choice to be made. Do we continue our wilderness wanderings? Or is it now time to move forward in newness of life for today? Just last week, you elected new officers. I'm not sure why you chose these people to lead you. Maybe just so the nominating committee would leave you alone and stop asking you to be on session or on the deacons. Maybe you just thought they were nice people. Or maybe they do an awful lot for the church and this was sort of an honor, a reward of sorts. Or maybe you just voted yes because that's what you do at these kinds of congregational meetings. Or possibly you weren't even here to vote last week. But at any rate, 13 officers were elected last Sunday to lead this congregation for the foreseeable future. Some are returning to an office they have served before sometime in the past. Some are new to the job. Some have been at Fort Street a very long time. Some are really very new to our community. Some represent a new generation of leadership, of thought, of new ways of doing things. Some are older and still come with new ideas about leadership and new ways of doing things. So I have two questions to the congregation. Are you really ready to follow the leaders of this congregation as you are going to promise in a few minutes? And to the new officers, are you really ready to lead this congregation, making sometimes the hard choices you will be called upon to make, as you are going to promise in just a few minutes? You see, these really are critical questions. I know as Presbyterians who regularly go through this election ordination ritual and installation ritual, it's easy just to dismiss, ignore, or give a passing nod to the whole process. But if, as a leader, you believe God has called you to this position of responsibility at this time in your life and at this time in the life of this community, hold on to this. Be strong. You'll need it. Be very courageous. It will come in handy. Do not deviate from all that is true and just and right. Do not deviate at all from God's call upon your life, for only then will you act with wisdom, only then will your journey be successful. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for God is with you wherever you go. If, as members of this congregation, you believe just possibly that the Holy could be at work in this place, calling these leaders for such a time as this, make a heartfelt promise to take seriously the leadership of the ones you have elected, going where your leaders together discern God is calling this congregation, praying for, encouraging, and blessing your leaders. Leaders today have to lead in critical times. You only have to look at any newspaper or hear any bit of news to know that this is true, worldwide, nationwide. These are critical times in this city where much is hanging in the balance and the jury is still out. For Fort Street Church, we also are in the midst of critical times, also with much hanging in the balance, and the jury is also still out. Times have changed. Circumstances have changed. The context has changed. People have changed. Society has changed. A lot of things have changed in 40 years. And if the church does not change, the church becomes irrelevant, eventually ceasing to exist, maybe not in your lifetime, but Christians have always been taught to think beyond a lifetime to something bigger than themselves. If we pretend these changes are not so, if we deny the critical nature of our times, we may soon be so stuck we will be unable to intervene in any way that can effectively stem the tide. What is needed is an honest reality check, with eyes wide open, ready to deal with the issues head on, willing to move from our wilderness wanderings into newness of life for today. Many things happen in our wilderness wanderings, things that can change us, often setting our lives on a different course. But one day, at the edge of the wilderness where God has brought us, we have to make a choice. Either turn around, heading back into the wilderness to continue our wilderness wanderings, or move forward on the path where the holy is leading at this point in time. Now, this is where Fort Street leadership comes in. We may have to start doing some things completely differently. We may have to take some risks in trying some new things when the strategic plan leaves us a little bit unnerved. We may have to trust a new generation of leaders who do things that sometimes make us uncomfortable, who think in ways we don't quite understand at times, who are going to take us to places we may think right now we do not want to go. Leaders, you are leading in critical times for this congregation, but critical times are also exciting times because there is so much unrealized potential, so many opportunities, so many possibilities. Be strong. Be courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. God is with you wherever you go. Members of the congregation, be strong. Be very courageous in following your leaders. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. God is with us wherever we all go together as a community. Thanks be to God for taking us through our wilderness wanderings, teaching us what we need to know, getting us to the edge of the wilderness, and luring us on the journey forward into exciting newness of life for today. Amen.